Hello Stitchers, welcome to an end of year WIP Parade. My name is Joanne, the Story Stitcher, and I am so glad that you're here. I cannot wait to get to talk cross stitch with you. And in fact, I have my basket of WIPs sitting right here and we're gonna go through them. And all my pieces have been ironed. So I have really been looking forward to this day. I am here in California. I'm an author by day and a stitcher by night, and I just love getting to hang out with all of you here on Flosstube. And I have been beyond blessed by all of you who have joined me here, who have left the most lovely comments over the last almost year and a half that I have been not only cross-stitching, but Flosstubing. And I hope you have a wonderful time joining me today. I will jump pretty quickly into the WIPs because I just love to talk about the cross-stitch details, and we'll have a couple fun things along the way. And one of those things I wanted to say is just a big thank you. As I reflect on what this year has meant to me, it has been a year of such a whirlwind. If you've been here for any length of time, you know that I am a recent cancer survivor, which is why my hair is so short. And it's growing again, which I'm thrilled about. And I did not have hair during my last WIP Parade, which was my mid-year one. If you see that thumbnail, I'm there in a beanie. And Flosstube brought me a lot of joy during a very difficult season and a very difficult year. And having stitching to bring me comfort, stitching to work on during some overwhelming days or just days when I wasn't feeling well, to be able to sit and stitch meant a lot. And to be able to watch Flosstube gave me a sense of connection when I wasn't able to be around people due to some, low immunity, or what do you call it? A low immune system, needing to isolate. I even had to isolate from my kids for a small period of time, and I would see them through the door. We would like hug from afar. So having this community really kept me going and kept me feeling connected. And I guess the best way to say it is feeling human. So thank you for that to all of you and this wonderful world of cross stitch and Flosstube. I'm an easy crier, so I'm trying not to cry right now, but that's how my heart feels. And so with that, what do you say we jump into a year's worth of WIPs? I don't have a massive amount, so just to know a little bit about me, I don't carry a ton of WIPs. I like to carry enough that could fit in my basket. Once the basket gets full, I try not to keep going. So I currently have, I'm looking at my list, I have 9 WIPs to show you and 2, possibly 3 timeout pieces. I think I have 3 timeout pieces. And I'm gonna explain to you why they're in timeout. And I thought that'd be a fun addition to the WIP Parade today. So what do you say we jump on in with number 1? And I'm kind of gonna go in order to a few favorites. Well, that's not really in order, is it? But I'm gonna pull out a few favorites, and also I'm starting with one of my older WIPs first. But before I do even that one, I wanna do the one that is the closest to a finish. And I was anticipating that it could be a finish before Christmas, and I don't think it's gonna be a finish before Christmas because today is Christmas Eve when I'm filming this video. But I have a good hunch it's gonna be finished in December, and I'm gonna count that as a win. So if you know what I'm talking about Christmas Journey, which is a pattern by Leisure Arts. It is one of my first WIPs that I've ever done. I started it possibly my first or second month of cross stitch, and I have recently finished all of the stitching, and I've been on a back stitching journey. Would you like to see the progress? We are just stitches away from being finished, so I'm over the moon. Here it is on 14 count Aida with back stitch. So the last time you saw this, we didn't have any of that glorious back stitch, and he's almost done. I did the church there, the mountainside, his walking stick. You can see that I did his hat and his bag. I recently did his hands, and of course his boot and his coat. So a lot of progress. One of the reasons why it's not a finish is I made a little oopsie on his hand, and so I am gonna frog it. I read the pattern just a tiny bit wrong, and I don't really like the way his fingers turned out. I feel like that one looks great. This one, it's supposed to show like the inside of his fingers, and I feel like it's not translating very well. So I am actually in the process of taking out that back stitch, which is not easy to do. And I'm gonna redo his hand so it looks a little bit more natural. That's okay. And then I will be doing this little section. I still need to do the holly around his belt, the drum, and then this one singular tree here will have some backstitch. Other than that, he is done, and I am just over the moon. I think he's going to be so gorgeous framed. Look at his face. I added his mustache, and I just love his sleeves in the bag, how it's all popping, as well as those boots. Isn't it pretty? This is just a dear, dear piece to me. So it's very close. And once all the back stitching is done, as I've mentioned, I'll be washing out the grid. I'm a little bit of a, I don't know what to describe it. I'm a little goofy when it comes to counting. And so I do tend to, not only do I grid, but I also number my grids because it helps my brain process the information that is before me. So that is WIP number 1. And I hope that very soon you will see him as a finish. I think he's ready. I think he's ready to be done. But I also am trying to enjoy the holiday season as much as possible. And I have a little other Christmas stitching to do as well. So I try not to give myself too strict of rules. Instead have goals. But I keep them pretty light and pretty loose to keep it fun. That is WIP number 1. I think I said everything that I need about it. It's DMC 2/2 on 14 count Aida. It's just inexpensive Aida that I got off of Amazon. And it is so luxurious and dreamy having all my pieces ironed right now. And I just love it. I almost didn't iron them. And then I thought to myself, this is the one time a year that I'll really iron them like this. So pull everything out of its hoops, do all the things, Joanne, and iron. And I'm really glad that I did because it was really fun. Piece number 2 is one that you've seen for a while if you are a subscriber or if you've been around here, and it is Americana Red by October House Fiber Arts. And this is another piece that I just love. I really, as you can imagine, with only having 9, let's see, plus 3, that's 12, right? That's 12. I have been enjoying this one so much. I am stitching it on 25 count Lugana in the color Potato. And I'm using 2 strands of floss. Here is my progress. This has been another piece that I have been working on for over a year. And I just love this one because it's 25 count Lugana. The holes are quite large and it's easy peasy to stitch on. This is just comfort stitching. I love that it's one color of floss, and I am using, is it Classic Colorworks? Yes, I'm using Classic Colorworks, and I am using the color Licorice Red. Very seasonal. And I have lots of skeins here in my project bag because I am doing 2 strands. Of course, I have found that it is taking more floss than maybe the pattern called for, but that's okay. I'm someone that doesn't mind a little more floss if I can stitch it on a count that I'm really comfortable with, and that would be really fun for me. So that's where it's at. I would say I still have over halfway to go. Now this is one that I would really like to be a focus piece for 2026. Let's put it on the board so the light doesn't shine through. I'd really like this to be a focus piece for this coming year and possibly get it done in 2026. I think that would be very doable, and I would just love to get it up on the wall. So you're going to see a few that I'm going to call out as focus pieces for 2026. This is going to be one of them. To me, this is very spring and summer. I've set all my regular stitching aside for the holidays, so that way I could stitch Halloween and then a little bit of fall, Thanksgiving, and of course Christmas. And you'll be seeing this one again. I absolutely love it. And again, a couple people have asked me about this fabric, Potato. It's such a fun fabric. It does have these little speckles. That makes it really rustic and quaint. And I'm excited to get to frame this someday. I would really like to put it in my kitchen someday. So that is Americana Red. That's number 2. I'll probably lose track along the way, but that's number 2. And I've been doing this one in a hoop. You can see my hoop there in my project bag. And this one hasn't left rings on the fabric, but I do have one that I have some rings. So it's kind of a bit of a catch-22 when you want that really good tension, but then you also don't want the rings. So that is that one. And I've got a cat joining me. He's right here. I see his fluffy tail. He's trying to crawl under my stitching. Hey. No, come here. Before we go on further, I did want to give a special thank you and a little, maybe I'll call it a teaser, to all of the lovely people that have been joining me over on Patreon. I recently rolled out a brand new Patreon where I'm able to share some bonus content, and in particular, some short stories that I'm writing that are about two cross-stitch friends. And this was the little graphic I worked up for our Christmas special, which I just posted there. And that's Mabel and Holly, and their little cross-stitch adventures have been so fun to write and to share with you there on Patreon. It's been a really fun outlet for me and a lovely opportunity. So if you like to read and you enjoy cross-stitching, you can find those there. And I ended up putting the stories in the lower tier because I want as many people to get to read those as possible. So that's something I ended up doing because, yeah, I just want you guys to get to join me. Anybody who would like to get to read those little tales, that's where those are. And it's been super fun for me as an author because I'm always writing longer novels. I'll talk about this one later on when I get to it, but this is a novel that I recently wrote and published, and they are long. They take a long time to write and they take a long time to edit. And so having those little stories, if I get to spend a shorter amount of time from kind of idea to you all reading it, has been really magical and special. So that little Christmas special made me feel like I was like a TV writer where we're writing the Christmas special. It was just really fun. It gave me a smile and it warmed my heart, and I hope it warms yours as well. For those of you who like to read and you would enjoy reading about cross stitch. So maybe I'll have to write a WIP Parade sometime for those two gals. What do you think? What do you say we go to the next piece? This is a lovely, lovely project of my heart. I tend to have a pretty strong heart connection to most of what I do, which could be another reason why I don't have as many WIPs, is when I start a piece, mostly, unless it's a small and it's a little bit more impulsive, which that's what I love about smalls. If they're larger pieces, I typically think it through relatively carefully or thoughtfully because I don't like to spend a ton of money on cross-stitch supplies, meaning I don't like to have a lot of money hanging out in my WIP basket via cloth, fabric, floss, all those things, and patterns. So I try to keep my stitching in that basket. A decent size, around 10. That way these pieces I can stitch, put my whole heart into them, savor the experiences, and not let anything get too lost amid the shuffle that I might forget about it for a year or two. I'm trying to keep my WIP basket as fresh and meaningful as possible. And I hope that resonates with you. I'd love to hear any comments you have to share, but if you have a WIP basket, how do you like to do it? Do you like to have lots of pieces, which there's no right or wrong way? Would you like to have a few? Are you a monogamous stitcher? I'd love to hear. Now, this one is a Told in a Garden. I love the little Told in the Garden labels. I cannot throw them away. I don't know if I have a picture of it because I just have the pattern here. I might have a, yep, there it is. This one is called Voice of the Shepherd. Lovely little Told in the Garden. And this one just really has, of course, spoken to me just for its sweetness and its comfort and the faith woven in there. It's something that I would like to stitch for my dad. He already knows this. I would just really like this to be a gift to my dad at some point because he's been so wonderful in my life. And I think he loves reading the Psalms. So I just feel like that would be something lovely on he has a music room / office. I think that would look great on his wall. Here is the progress. There is, let's get a board here. There is Voice of the Shepherd. I've done a center start. This is on, I'm almost certain it's 28 count. It might be 32 count of an even weave and I've done those houses. I love these houses, and there's memories tied in every stitch. For me, I imagine for you as well. So this one is tied to some really sweet memories of, this one was right before I had my surgery. My husband and I went and spent a few days in the mountains, and I got to stitch on this and just feel a lot of peace. That's what I love about cross stitch, is the way that it calms our minds and our hearts, and it keeps us busy and occupied, and it allows us to focus on good things, even amid any of the difficulties in life. So that's where it's heading. You can see I'm right there in the middle. It just pops. This little photograph, you know, these are a little bit older. They don't quite do it full justice, the color, and it's a lot of fun block stitching. I love the color palette, and I'm excited to get to work on this a lot more. This is definitely one that I want to spend a fair bit of time working on in 2026. Here is my floss. It's all on a floss ring. I've been storing most of my projects in Flosstube bags because that is how I store them in my master set. I do have a couple videos here about DMC and my master set. And I'm always pointing right here. Y'all can't see it, but right there is my master set. It's in a set of drawers. And I've got some more videos to come for that as well. But yep. And I just label them. I make homemade floss drops or floss tags. And so I just snag one and then I write the name of the piece. That way, if I ever borrow floss, because sometimes I snag the actual floss if I'm using a color for something different, I will not misplace what goes where. And labeling has really helped with that. So that is Voice of the Shepherd. And I've mentioned this in previous videos, but I haven't done, now I do fray check. You can't really see it, but I do the little fray check, and that helps a lot. It's kind of breaking my heart to think about folding this up and putting it away, but because it's so beautifully ironed, but let's do it anyway. Let's fold it up, let's put it away safely, and that way everything will stay very, very organized. Here in another project bag. And let's do another WIP before I do the tray. I'm going to draw the tray. But let's just do one more. And this is, I've never shown this one yet on a regular Flosstube. This is, I have a special bag down here. This is my full coverage, my really big full coverage that I have mentioned to you all. And this one is, I just did a video about it to show my full coverage process. This one is Santa feeding the reindeer. There it is. This is a big one. This is my biggest piece to date, and is another reason why my WIP basket is relatively small. I have less WIPs now than I did in my last WIP Parade, and that is all because of this guy. He's going to be about 85,000 stitches in that ballpark, and so I know that the more WIPs I have, the less stitches I'm going to get to do on this one, and so I'm kind of trying to, I got myself a couple of finishes before I allowed myself to fully start this one. So Santa feeding the reindeer, charted by Artesy, and the artwork is by Larry Jones. And yeah, I did a whole video on this. If you're interested in that one, it is kind of a fun video where I broke down the process of selecting it, why I select it. I talked about AI a little bit and the reasons why I really wanted to find a pattern that was designed by an artist with an artist's eye and an artist's touch. So that's what I did. Would you like to see where I'm at with this one? I am at, oh my gosh, I didn't realize where I was. I just clicked on my stats. I'm at 4.05%. I don't know if you can see that. I thought I was going to be at 3 something. 4.05%. That's a decent amount of progress for something this large. So let's take a look at it. It's wrinkly because I didn't iron it because it has pre-graded fabric and I was scared to iron it. This is what 4.05% looks like. This is the size of the piece. Again, it's going to be a big one. And this is my progress. I'm so proud of this. I know it doesn't look like much now. This is the top corner of the barn. let's take a look. It's this, I'm stitching this top corner. So you can kind of see the slant of that roof line, and then that little bow and that wreath is where we're heading. So that's where I am. And for Christmas, I decided to jump down a little bit, and I went down to, I want to say this is like page 6 or something instead of going this way. I just really wanted to get to that red bow. So I've been working on that this Christmas, as well as more of the black fill-in. There are 8 skeins of black in this piece, 8 skeins. So far I've used one skein, just about one skein of 310, just in this 4%. So it is a lot of black, but that's why I wanted to get to some of that color. But I enjoy this so much. I love it. It's like, it's hard to describe. I mentioned in my other video, it's a little bit addicting. It's almost like if you see someone maybe playing a game on their phone, or, you know, something that you might do, Tetris or Solitaire or Candy Crush or whatever people play. This is like that. You know, you're filling in this grid, you're doing the stitches, you're checking them off. It feels like a game. It doesn't hurt that I'm doing it on the iPad. Maybe that increases the fun of it. I love seeing the stats and everything. So I just can't stop. And I am in the midst of that garland. I'm going to start adding some twinkle lights, which I'm really looking forward to doing is adding in some of those glorious little twinkle lights. I'm not there yet, but I'm almost there, and I can't wait. So this is going to take, I'd say, about 4 years, give or take. I'm not saying it's going to take 4 years, but what I did is if I do half a page a month, that will be 4 years. And I sense it will go longer than that. But I like to keep that mentally in my head so it doesn't hopefully go on to infinity. And I'm doing it on a 16 count, easy grid. And you can see again, I've numbered my grid. It just helps me. I don't know if other people do that. Do other people do that? Do you do that? Have you seen anybody do that? Is it weird? I do it because as I'm glancing down at the pattern and then to the piece, I just don't want them to make the mistake of gridding in the wrong spot. Let's see, can I show you without showing you? No, I can't. I don't want to make the mistake of doing a section and realizing I was in the wrong spot. So when I have the pattern, there's like a little corner of the pattern. When I have the pattern on my iPad and it says, 30, 40, 50, I want to be able to very easily reference where I am. So I just do that in washable marker. That's Santa feeding the reindeer. It's coming along great. I still can't believe I hit 4%. I'm just boggled by that. I know I still have 96% to go, but considering that I've been doing this for about a month, I'm very pleased with that. So I'll be working on him throughout the year. I hope you enjoy seeing the progress. If you like full coverage, this is definitely checking that box, but of course I have other things as well. So I love it. Hangs out in my bag here that I did show you guys in the video, because I love this bag and I want to show you the floss real quick before I close this one up. These are my messy floss rings. I've got, for some reason I have 3 of them. Usually it's 2, but somehow I broke some of them up. That's all the floss. It's all the floss for Santa feeding the reindeer. And I already pre-cut the floss to the amount that I need. So this is not full skeins where I might put some back in my stash. This is everything for Santa feeding the reindeer. I pre-cut everything to how many strands of floss that I need. And again, I'll go into detail on that. If you look on my channel for the full coverage video, I explain all that. And I just have to highlight again my little Christmas card of floss drops. I made floss drops out of old Christmas cards. So that was fun and very Christmassy. So there's the floss and all the fun with Santa. And the reason why I started this one is because I knew that I was going to be finishing the one that I'm backstitching, and I just wanted to keep going on the full coverage train. And that gives me that opportunity. That's that opportunity. So there it is. 4.05. Yes. Okay. That's very exciting. Let's put this in a safe spot. And what do you say? I announced the winner of the tray. This tray has been the tray of this channel. It has gotten so many votes and so many comments that we're going to have to figure out a way to do more trays. That's all I can say, because y'all love the tray that Dad did, and he made me one as well. So without further ado, and this is a redraw, the winner of this tray is Stitching Grandma of 8. There you are. Congratulations, Stitching Grandma of 8. I can't wait to send this to you. I will make sure you see this. I will travel near and far to make sure you see this, because I know it broke all of our hearts that we couldn't get a hold of the winner the last time. And it's just the most beautiful tray. So thank you everybody who's commented and who was excited about what Dad had made. And I'm hoping that we might get more of these in the future. That's my hope. And there will be more giveaways. There's going to be more giveaways. Dad is always at work in his wood shop, and he makes things for me and for us. So stay tuned for more wooden goodies from Dad. And congratulations to Stitching Granny of 8. Let's jump from full coverage to something even a little more different. This is what I have on my scroll frame. I have one scroll frame. It's sitting here. It's wrapped in a pillowcase. So let's take off the pillowcase. I typically stitch in a Q-snap or a hoop. Q-snaps are my favorite because they don't leave the marks. They're easy to hold. And for this one, I decided to go ahead and do a frame, scroll frame. And it's a little wonky. I need to kind of fix it, but I'll show you the piece before I show you what we got going on. This is in my little sunflower bag. This is, if you like movies, this one is called The Lord of the Rings. And I have broken my promise that I kept thinking that I was going to get a better picture of it. Let me see if I can do that real quick on the iPad. Thanks to the power of the internet search, I have found it. Now it's going to be a good size. This is The Lord of the Rings by the Stitching Coven. And I've had it on this little tiny thumbnail that just has been way too small. I just want you all to see the glorious details of this piece. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and so is my husband. He has the same birthday as Bilbo Baggins. And when we met and fell in love, one of the things we talked about was Lord of the Rings. And we're just big fans. So we've got different little knickknacks around the house. Of course, we have all the movies and then some. So there it is. It's a very long piece. And I'm right at the top, which I will show you my progress. And here is my progress. I'll put that behind. I've done the top. I am using pre-gridded fabric, which I'll explain, but it's a pre-gridded 14 count, all the called for DMC, 2 strands of floss. And it's gorgeous. This one is a blast. It is so much fun to work on. It brings me so much joy. It's very easy. It's almost like coloring in a coloring book, following this pattern. 10 out of 10 on the pattern. It is just gorgeous to read, and it's so much fun. I have nothing but love for this piece, and honestly, if I could stitch on it every day, I would. The only reason why I paused is so I could do Christmas stitching, but this one's definitely going to be back out in rotation. I sewed these little ends here, which is kind of goofy. I really probably shouldn't have done that, but I don't have the little clamps. I need to get some. So that's what I did. I just sewed it. I'm going to cut that off anyway, is the way that I see it. And as I mentioned, my husband's birthday. He has the same birthday as Bilbo and Frodo. They're both September 22nd. My dream, let's call it a dream instead of a goal, is to finish this for his birthday, which will be in a year. Will I be able to do that? Possibly not. I won't make any too hard and fast rules for myself. If I end up taking 2 years, that's completely fine. But I would like to gift this for him. He knows I'm making it. He's excited for it. And it's so pretty. Now, I know it's a little unconventional to use easy grid fabric for something that you're not doing full coverage on. So I'm just doing this and praying that it properly washes out. I have done a test run. But for me, because I do struggle at times with counting accurately, I know a lot of people do, but I just really do. I don't want to run the risk of making a big mistake because it's so long and so elegant. I don't want to get to a certain section and realize I have to fudge it, if you know what I mean. I want to be able to know that each and every grid, 10 by 10 grid, is accurate, because I want this just to flow beautifully. I want that ornate border to turn out as perfect as it can. And I can't wait to frame this and put this on my husband's wall. I have lots of stitching in store. I might have to watch Lord of the Rings a couple more times. Let's go from my bigger WIPs to my smallest WIPs, which are, these are finishes, but I'll explain why they're WIPs. These are 2 little figures that I've done, which is by Embroidery. I don't have the pattern to show you because somehow it just is hiding in my craft room. I've searched for it and it's still hiding, but I will find it really soon. And I have been stitching the characters of Pride and Prejudice. I've done a couple reels, a couple shorts here on YouTube and Instagram. And we have Mr. Darcy and we have Elizabeth Bennet. And so I have the pattern by Owl Forest, and my mom was initially going to stitch it, but it was a little bit too daunting. So we kind of regrouped. She hit pause and I thought, well, I could pick it up and stitch it. But I decided that what I'm doing instead is just having some fun with stitching all the little characters. And so I'm considering it a WIP because I have more to stitch. So these little finishes are going to happen over time. Sometimes they're hanging up here, sometimes they're hanging up here, but they hang out with me, my little characters. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this piece is because it is December. And December happens to be Jane Austen's birthday. This year was a celebration, the 250th celebration of her birthday. In that honor, if you've been around here before, you know that I had decided to honor that birthday by writing a Pride and Prejudice retelling. It's called The Heart of Bennet Hollow, and it released this fall. And so I also have my copy of Pride and Prejudice here. I have lots of copies of Pride and Prejudice. This one was gifted to me, I believe, by Maureen. Thank you, Maureen, who sent me lots of lovely goodies that were Pride and Prejudice inspired. And I thought it'd be fun to show you that she also sent me the little, is this Riley Blake? Yeah, little Riley Blake cameo charm. So once I find that project bag and the pattern, I'm going to hook this on there and continue to make more characters. I want to make Jane. I want to make all the characters. So I'm considering that a WIP because it's an ongoing process. And every so often, I just make a little one and I finish it into a crickety little pillow and I make a fun little reel. So that's been a blast. It's brought me a lot of joy. And I love getting to take breaks from some of the bigger pieces and do some really fun smalls. It doesn't get much smaller than this. They are so cute. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing those along the way, and there will be more to come. Now let's continue through the WIP basket. This is one off of Etsy, and it's one that I've done before. You all have seen me displaying my pumpkin piece, which is by Stitches Through the Years on Etsy. And I love their patterns. And so once that one was done, that one was called Pumpkins for Sale, and it's charming. I can't wait to display it again for fall. I decided to do another one of theirs, and I'm doing more of like a spring summer version this time. Here's my floss. And there's a little label. It's called A Little Bit Country. Got all the beautiful colors there. The skeins of DMC. Again, DMC. Everything that I'm doing right now is DMC. Unless I tell otherwise, and I'll try to tell you otherwise. Okay, the power of the iPad is saving me today. There is the finished piece. A Little Bit Country. It's got that sweet little shepherdess, the sheep, little fence, her little, with the goose in the wagon, and that beautiful little sign with the vine. So that is the piece. Now you have good context. And this is where I'm at. So I have done that one side there. And this was a couple days of stitching. And I am doing the DMC conversion. I'm pretty sure all the colors I'm using are called for, except for the fence, which I decided to do a little bit more of an off-white just because I'm doing this bright white. This is an even weave. This is just a piece of vintage, kind of no-name even weave that I got in my stash. Very cute, and I'm excited to make more progress. I tend to stitch on something for about 3 days minimum. 3 to 5 days usually is kind of the sweet spot for me. Sometimes I'll do longer, sometimes I'll do less, depending. but I like to do about 3 to 5 days per piece, which helps me get into the groove with it and enjoy the time with it. I don't really like jumping from pattern to pattern too often, just because I kind of forget where I'm at, or I forget the rules that go with that pattern. You know how you have little things with each pattern of, oh yeah, I forgot I substituted that floss, or I ran out of that, or I'm doing this with the pattern. And so when I'm in a piece, I try to stay there for a little while, just a couple days, so I can get lots of progress and not have to mentally like keep solving those little riddles of, you know, what I'm doing with each piece. This one's going to be so cute. Imagine it there framed for spring and summer. I cannot wait. And again, that one is 2 strands of floss. Most of my stitching is 2 strands of floss. Okay, we are just coming along so well here. Hope you're having fun. I hope you're stitching on something that you love. I always hope that. And we have just a couple more WIPs here. If I run out of time, because I like to keep my videos about an hour under, if I run out of time to talk about my timeout pieces, I'll make a separate video, but I'm going to try. Let's try and get to the timeout basket. Up next, you've seen this one before, I'm sure, and it is Emerald City. Also by Owl Forest Embroidery. It's just an absolute glorious pattern, and there's some wonderful stitchers out here who have recently finished that. And I have been doing all of the called for DMCs, which has been a little bit of a saga. So here on the ring, we have the called for DMC, because I've been doing the conversion, just because I didn't quite want to bite the bullet and spend the money on the floss. And then as I've talked on Flosstube with you all, I regretted that just a little bit because I haven't been in love with the color conversion. And then I was gifted this by a lovely viewer by the name of Paula. She sent me the Owl Forest floss. And I haven't even gotten a chance to use it yet because this one has been on a little bit of a break for fall. All the gorgeous colors are in my hands. Oh my gosh. And so, yeah. Thank you, Paula, for the Owl Forest floss. So you might be wondering, well, what are you going to do, Joanne? What are you going to do with the progress that you've made? Well, let me show you, and I'll tell you my plan. That's where I'm at. I have done this section. And so I am loving it. I have so much fun with this. This piece is like eating candy. It's just fun and playful and vibrant and colorful. I never am unhappy while I'm stitching this. The only thing that I haven't loved, as I mentioned, is some of the colors of the conversion aren't quite as I had hoped, and a lot of you knew I wasn't super in love with that teal green. And the reason why I point that out is because at some point, once I go on to stitch the Emerald City Castle, it's going to be the same green. And so I didn't want to stitch the whole castle in a green that I didn't love on this fabric, but it's really cute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to frog some pieces of it, not the entire thing. And I'm not even sure what it will be yet. But once I turn this back into a focus piece, I feel like I'm going to take out this tree. I might play around with a little bit of this. I don't know if I'm going to take out his wings or not. Those were kind of time consuming. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a few little details out and put the Owl Forest floss in, and then I'm going to just kind of merge things so that they look as cohesive as possible. That is my plan. And as I've mentioned, talking about focus pieces and that I would let you know what's what, this one is definitely one that I want to be a focus piece for 2026. My hope and goal, probably over any other piece that I have, is to finish this one in 2026, which I think will be very doable, especially once I make it a focus piece. So lots more of this to come. If you stick around, if you're a subscriber, if you decide to join me here, you will be seeing this quite a bit in 2026. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see this completed. I can't wait to see it up on the wall. And yeah, such pretty detail. It is a linen, and the color just eludes me. I'll try and pop it below if I can. I'll put everything in the description, including, like, you know, my links, my website, Instagram, Patreon, patterns, all the things I'll put down below. So I will tell you what that pretty fabric is as well. It's not the called for. It's one that I pulled myself, and the name is just like, It's flitting around my brain like a little fairy, and it's not landing. So we're gonna move on. Up next is Midnight Watch, which is one that I started for Halloween by Blackbird Designs. And this one's a blast. I cannot wait to work more on this one. I think I'll pull him out during the year, but of course, especially during fall. So I'll show you what I got done this October, which I'm pretty pleased with. This is what I have. And it is an Ada. I think it's 14 count. I am doing some fancy floss, but I'm not doing the call for fancy floss. So I'm doing a couple of different color changes where this color there, which is not a dark blue, it's something different. I did it in a dark blue because I kind of interpreted it wrong, but that's okay. I actually really love how it worked out. And I made a few little counting changes because I did tweak that border just a little bit, which you'll have seen in my October floss tubes. And I will talk more about this one in detail as we go. But I just wanted to give you a little sneak peek of all my WIPs during this parade. And I am loving this one. I'll show you the floss. There we go. Midnight Watch. As I mentioned, I just like to give it a little label. And then some classic color works. So pretty. And then of course a couple, looks like I've got a couple weeks in there, and I have also a few DMC. So this is again my own color conversion for Midnight Watch. And I'm loving this one. You're gonna hear me say that a lot because I don't have any WIPs really that I don't like unless they're in timeout. And I still like those ones. We're gonna talk about why anything that's in timeout is in timeout. I love stitching in season, and this one has been a wonderful chance to do that. So I just love Halloween stitching and fall stitching and Christmas stitching. But now that I've done it all, I'm missing my other pieces. I'm missing Emerald City. I'm missing Voice of the Shepherd and others. So I can't wait to get back to those as well. Okay, this is the last one before we get to the timeout pile. And this is my Nora Corbett. This is my beautiful, beautiful Nora Corbett. For those of you in my Patreon, you would have seen me do that little video. I did a little video there where I pretended like I fell into my cross stitch pattern. And I filmed this lovely Victorian Christmas Eve special, you could say, because I am stitching Victorian Christmas Eve. Isn't it beautiful? And so I got to film some footage of my husband and I at a real Victorian Christmas Eve. We sang carols, we danced waltzes, and we sipped cider. We did all the things, and I filmed it all, and it's there in my Patreon because I just thought it would be a fun connection to cross stitch. And he bought me a ticket. It was a big surprise that he did with me to make me feel special for Christmas and take me on a little date. So I took you along too in my Patreon, and this is that pattern. Gorgeous Nora Corbett. It's a exclusive in the Cross Stitch Needlework magazine of 2008, and someone did mention that they found this elsewhere. I'm going to hunt that down, and I'll try to link that and reference that as time goes by for those of you who might be interested in getting it. I'm trying to remember where the location was, and I will hunt that comment down and share that with you really soon. And again, I'll pop anything down in the description, and if there's something that you don't find there and you think, oh, Joanne, I just wish you would give me that little nugget of information, tell me in your comment and I will find it for you. And here it is. This is my progress. 32 count taupe fabric. And you can see I did a little gridding there because this thing was giving me a little bit of trouble because of how much confetti it is. She was a little tricky as I work on that arbor, and I was getting lost. So I did do some gridding on 32 count, which I know again is kind of out of the ordinary, but it's been helpful to me to just grid that little section. So if you're interested, I'm thinking about doing a video of talking through my process of doing that. If that interests you, let me know, because I have a couple of extra videos I want to make, and that one, and also someone had been asking about gridding my Ada, what my process looks like. I think I would like to film that as well. So we might have some gridding videos to come. But isn't it beautiful? Again, 2 strands of floss, 2/2, all the call for DMC, and this is just spectacular. There is going to be some space for beading there. Lots of beads in this little beauty. And I can't wait to get to her face and her dress and get all that in there. I'm kind of making myself eat my vegetables, so to speak. Because I know if I start with the dress, I feel like I'm not going to want to do the arbor. So I'm going to do at least a section of the arbor before I switch over to the lovely girl. And she has whisper white in her little coat there. And I already have that on hand, as well as I have all of the beads. So I ordered this and I can't wait to get to beading. But I'm looking forward to getting to use the whisper white. And of course, I have all the beads. I did substitute the colors because, as you know, some of these slightly older patterns, some of the beads are harder to find, and I just didn't want to break the bank hunting them down. So I, same size, slightly different color on the beads, which, for those of you who know me, I am pretty content to wing things when I need to. It keeps it fun, and I don't mind going a little bit off of the beaten path as needed. So those are the beads. And it's just been lovely. I've got all the floss here, the magazine, and I just made a copy. The pattern is very difficult to read. I mentioned this in my last episode because some of the greens are very similar. And two of these greens, the symbols are almost identical. So it's been a bit of a challenge, which is why it's a little slower going. It's just the pattern is harder, but the product is going to be worth it. So more to come on this beautiful one. And I can't wait to go and do the other side of the arbor and again get to the lovely girl, which is coming. Now we have made it to the timeout pile. These patterns are beloved and they've given me trouble, which is why they're in this pile. So let's go through each one individually. I'm going to start with, I think I would call it the crowd favorite. And a couple of you have asked about this, and it is the lion. And the lion is coming. He is on his way back to the regular WIP pile. The reason why he went in timeout is because I had a couple of problems, which I'll show you real quick. This is my lion by a company called A Few Colors. And file that away in your brain that you can stitch this in one singular color. I chose not to do that. And the reason that I'm stitching him is because of, I don't have a copy next to me, but I wrote a book called The Lady and the Lionheart, and it's a circus book. And so I stitched this kind of in memory of that and on behalf of that because lions are a really important piece of that story. Here it is. Again, iPad saves the day. That is the cover of that book, The Lady and the Lionheart. And this is a cute little, like a mood board or a little design that a reader made after she read the book. And as you can see right there, those beautiful lions. And that's Charlie. He's the lion tamer. He's a nice lion tamer. And of course, it's set at the Victorian Circus. So I want to do something to kind of commemorate that because it's one of my favorite books. And so I decided to stitch the lion. Here's my progress. We have the top of a mane, but I do love this piece. So the reason why it's in timeout is because I got the idea that I wanted to stitch it in more colors. So the short version is I just got decision paralysis as I was trying to decide these are the colors that I have selected to kind of create more of a whimsically colorful lion, and I just got decision paralysis on what color to do next. I know that sounds silly. And I also kind of started at what I would consider a harder part of the pattern where it's a lot of counting in the top of his mane. Had I started here and had more context to build out of, I think I would have made steady progress. But again, it was a lot of counting there and just I got stalled out. On top of that, with the year that I've had, as you know, I decided to set aside any patterns that were trickier and I just did my easy ones. And so that's why he was in timeout. He is going to return. You will see him again. And I think I've solved some problems and I think I've made some decisions. So we're going to see our lion again. Another one that has been in timeout is Chili, the animal cracker. I know who puts an animal cracker in timeout. Joanne does, because Animal crackers are not for the faint of heart. And if you've done one, you know what I mean. And so I will show you what I have. Ignore the blue painter's tape. I didn't give myself enough seam allowance. This is what I have on Chili. Look how close he is. There's 2 reasons he's in timeout. Tell me what you think in the comments. I think I should bring him back out. Cast your vote. I just need to finish his little tummy and his little legs. He's going to be done. One of the reasons why he's not done is because I do get a little fatigued in these zones. I just got a little fatigued. It's a lot of stitching kind of the same thing. Had the same thing with Nettle. And that happened with Chili. The other reason why he's in timeout, and this is the biggest reason why he's in timeout, is the day that I got the call from the doctor with my diagnosis, letting me know that I had cancer, I was stitching on this. And you can even see my threads are dangling. Everything just froze in my life. And when I saw this piece, it reminds me of that day. I'm going to try and say this without crying, but it reminds me of that day, which is a very, very difficult day. And so I folded him up and I put him in timeout and I started other things. And I'm glad that I did, because it brought healing and health to my body, which is what I needed. I would like to give Chili a second chance. I want to bring him back and have him be a stitch of joy. So I'm going to wait for that time to be right when I'm ready to pick up these threads, rethread my needle, and without crying, stitch on him again. Because he was sitting next to me when the phone rang. Now, I know that's a little bittersweet, but that's just life sometimes. And it's okay to take a pause on something if it connects to those kind of more bittersweet memories. But I'm not going to hold that against Chili, and he's going to be back. So give me a cheer for Chili in the comments if you'd like to see him again. And I'm going to come up with a really lovely way to make him renewed, special once more. Maybe I'll find a lovely spot to stitch, or who knows what it will look like. But I would like to conquer this one and create fresh and new memories. The last one that's in my timeout pile is a dimensions kit. And you saw me, actually this is the next thing that I did right after my diagnosis, is I pulled up a dimensions kit because I wanted to do something a little more simple and straightforward. I learned that dimensions kits are not that easy. I don't have the picture. Oh, I do, good. There's the picture. This one brought me a lot of peace during that time. I imagined my husband and I sitting here watching the sunset by the lake. It gave me hope. It gave me something to work towards, to believe that I was going to get a chance to finish it and that I was going to actually live to finish it during some really dark days. So this piece means a lot to me. The reason why it's in timeout is because I had a couple of tricky bits with the pattern. If you've done a dimensions kits, you know they're not always the easiest to read. And the main mistake that I had made is I didn't grid. It's gridded now, but I hadn't gridded. That's one of those chairs. And I'm off about 2 or 3 stitches. So I kept having to kind of guess and kind of make it up of where I'm at. And I got to the point of, do I want to do that with this entire piece, or do I just want to start it over? That's the question that I got to, because the floss, as you know, is already kitted, and this is my second start on it. I don't know how much of this there is to go around, if I can really afford a restart. Again, cast your vote in the comments of what you think about this little guy, because I would love to see it completed. I would love the joy and privilege of finishing this and hanging it on the wall. But again, because those stitches are off, I don't want to keep stitching something wrong. That's where I'm at with this one. So that's the secret timeout basket that I have not shown in a while. And yeah, I can't wait to pull these out. I've got all my glorious WIP spread out before me and all the beautiful floss. And I will soon be organizing this all, but I have to go. We're going to the Christmas Eve service at church, and we're going to go sing some carols and then have some wonderful food with family. My husband is Dutch. All of his family is Dutch. So we are going to go make oliebollen. If you know what that is, that's what we're going to make. It's like a Dutch donut. We'll make that tonight and sit by the fire, drink cider. And then tomorrow we have lots of festivities with all of our 6 kids and our parents. So lots of fun to come. I hope you have had a wonderful Christmas, because this will be going up after Christmas. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. Thank you for being a special part of mine. Again, my name is Joanne, the Story Stitcher, and I hope you enjoyed this WIP Parade. I hope to see you soon. Happy stitching. Bye, everybody.